I'm Archbishop Mark Coleridge, and you are watching Q&A, question and answer for the Catholic leader. I'm often asked, what's your favourite piece of scripture? And I find that a very tough call because I have so many favourites for all kinds of reasons and for different moments of life. But perhaps my favourite is what we call the Emmaus story, which comes towards the end of the Gospel of Luke. The story, as you probably know, is the two disciples are walking away from Jerusalem because they've seen Jesus die on the cross. And they thought this was an absolute disaster. So they walk away from the disaster and from the city of death, and they're heading to this village called Emmaus. And then we're told Jesus comes up and walks with them, but they don't recognise him. And then they start up a conversation, Jesus making the first move. And at one point they say, "You must be the only person in Jerusalem who doesn't know what happened in Jerusalem." The joke here, of course, is that Jesus is the only one who does know. They think they know, but they know nothing. But the risen Jesus, who walks with them unrecognised, he does know, and they'll have to listen to Jesus if they want to understand what they've seen in Jerusalem. So the journey goes, and eventually Jesus, we are told, opens the scripture for them, and they fall silent. They begin to listen to the voice of Jesus, who says to them, "You are as thick as a brick. You are so slow to believe what the scripture tells you about what's happened in Jerusalem." And then he makes as if to go on. And at that point they say, "Stay with us." They're intrigued by this man and what he has said to them. "Stay with us." So he goes in and sits down with them, and we are told he breaks the bread, clearly Eucharistic. And at that moment we're told Jesus, their eyes are opened, they recognise him, and in that moment he vanishes from their sight. Now, why does Jesus vanish from their sight just as they recognise him? Because once your eyes are opened, you don't need him sitting across the table. You can see him everywhere. You kind of drown in Jesus. So he might have vanished from across the table, but they have eyes now that see him everywhere. And then they journey back through the darkness and are rejoined to the other apostles. Again, the community was split because they didn't understand what they'd seen in the death of Jesus, but they are reunited once their eyes are open. Now, the journey that those two disciples took wasn't just a physical journey, it was the journey of faith, the journey towards the open eye that sees the risen Christ everywhere. There's nowhere that he's not. So that story is not once upon a time just about those two disciples. That story, in fact, is about you and about me and about our journey towards the open eye. And that's one of the reasons why that passage, it may not be my absolute favourite passage of Scripture, but it's certainly one of those that speaks most deeply and enduringly to me and my heart.